Chuck. Tell the people of Logan and Ogden why DLC is amazing.
For 28 years, we've had one simple, transparent signature loan for up to $5,000 that we process in less than an hour. We lend cash at our local locations or electronic instant funding at don'tbebroke.com. It's always free to apply, and some folks just want to find out how much they qualify for so they know later down the line when they need the cash. We don't require good credit, collateral, or a checking account. We lend more, charge less, and allow the customers longer to pay the money back. At Dollar Loan Center, we love to say yes. Oh yeah, new customers get their first week's interest free. And the daily interest rate on a $500 loan, it's just $3.78. You can do the math from there.
Well put, Chuck. That was a lot. You can find everything at don'tbebroke.com.
License Committee, Utah Department of Financial Institutions. Statement amounts based on biweekly pay frequency with annual percent credit 275%. For additional cost information, call 866-550-4352. Subject to approval, limitations may apply.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. So that makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And good morning. Welcome to the Garden Guide on a beautiful Saturday morning as we're enjoying sunny, clear skies. And, you know, we had some hot temperatures this week, but we've got some very cold temperatures coming this next week. We'll feel right along with Mark Anderson.
I kind of saw some little snowflakes on the forecast. So are there still little snowflakes on the forecast?
There is a very small possibility. Now, they're calling for just a 30% chance tomorrow and then about a 60% chance on Monday. But more likely, it's going to be rain in the valley. We'll see maybe some snow
elevated
up on the benches area, mountains area. But yes, some very colder temperatures. We're going to be seeing
low 30s. Yeah, low 30s.
Back around freezing. So
it's that time of year, and it's like we always tell people, it's like our average last frost is around the 20th of May, and that's going to be pretty darn close to. We could have frost on Monday or Tuesday.
Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday. So time to think about protecting a few plants if you've been planting tomatoes and peppers and stuff, and corn and beans, and they're sensitive.
Yeah,
they're sensitive to the cold,
especially when they're small and really just barely getting started.
Yeah, they're just getting started. But I am super, super excited because I planted about 12 days ago. I planted my beets and my chard and my carrots, and they're all up.
And they've all come up.
They're all up already, yeah. So getting the carrots up that fast, there are some key tricks to making that happen. So maybe we can talk about that on the show a little bit, how to get those carrots to come up so fast, because normally they take 3 weeks. So I had mine up in 11 days this year, which is the fastest I've ever been able to get them to come up. So amazing when the carrots come up that quickly.
All right.
So and a little bit of rain's not going to hurt. It's like everybody's lawns are getting a little crispy and dry, and a little moisture would be lovely.
Yeah,
I think it would be great for the valley. And my wife and I were sitting out on the deck last night having dinner, and got a little chilly. We went back inside. But it was beautiful. Like the mountains are green and lush and beautiful. So valley's really perking up. It looks amazing.
All right. Well, a lot we can talk about. We've got tricks for getting plants to come up quickly in your garden. We can also talk about weeds, because the ongoing battle with clover, morning glory is heating up right now.
Yeah, and people are getting excited about planting their peppers and their tomatoes and some of their tender things, which we can absolutely advocate for. Probably after this cold snap. Yeah. And so we could probably talk about that as well too. Lots of cool things happening downtown. So last week was the first week for the garden, the the Gardeners
Farmers
Market. Yeah. So that was the very first weekend for that, and looks like that was successful. Today on Center Street, we've got the Children's Market. So the Cache Valley Children's Market is going to be down there, and so they should be just out on the sidewalks having a good time. And these are all children entrepreneurs running their own businesses, so it's actually pretty fun to come down and see what they're doing. They're going to try and come down to Center Street once a month.
Oh, great!
Yeah. So once a month they're going to try and come down, and I think it's always fun to see what the kids are putting together. So that's very cool. But at Anderson's, we've got some specials for just today. So if you're listening, today's specials, we've got wave petunias. 4-inch wave petunias. They're regularly $4.99. We're doing those for $2 each. So this is a killer deal for these wave petunias. They're regularly $5. We're doing them for $2. And then we've got 6-pack strawberries that are regularly $10. We're doing those for $4.50, so they're half price. So 50% off on our 6-pack jumbo 6-pack strawberries. And then our 3 to 4-inch size cup geraniums, they're regularly $4.99, and we're doing them on sale for $2.25. So they're better than 50% off. $2.25 on our 3 to 4 inch size geraniums. So we've got some really good deals going on at Anderson's. We've restocked the greenhouses, like they are slammed full with peppers and tomatoes, and we just got a bunch of perennials in, got some new shrubs in, and so the store looks amazing. And greenhouses are full, nursery is full, overflowing into the parking lot. We've got everything to take care of your needs outside now. Yeah, whether it's trees. We're running out of a few fruit trees. I'm going to try and maybe pick up a few varieties that have disappeared so far. But surprisingly, I talked to someone yesterday, and they followed one of my suggestions with their fruit trees, and they put incandescent lights in their trees when we had that cold snap. Yeah. And they actually have peaches and plums and apples and pears on all their trees that didn't get frozen and didn't fall off because they put that extra little heat source out there for their plants.
Great.
So it was nice to get a little feedback on that from someone. And they had covered their grapes, and they'd done a couple of things. So all their fruit are like they're not perfect, but they saved quite a bit of their fruit. Yeah.
Oh.
So it was a great conversation. I was excited for them because I know a lot of people throughout the valley lost almost their whole crop. So
yeah, I know that's how ours was. But I was out looking at it, and I went around and I watered and then treated with our, especially we have a couple newer fruit trees that we put in over the last couple of years, treated those with some Bigfoot and some fertilizer this week, and they're just really healthy. And I was telling my wife, I said, you know what, I'm okay with not having a fruit production this year because if we can continue to get these trees really well established,
right.
You know what, that's not a bad price to pay.
Right. And I think that's what we're going to offer through Anderson's and Logan Extermination is like, okay, if you don't have a lot of fruit, here's what we can do to really get these trees healthy this year, so that next year it'll make up for it. You'll really have good production. And so we're going to put a little tree care package together to allow our customers and gardeners and orchardists to really get their trees healthy during this year where fruit production is very low. Yeah.
Now, I did see also Governor Spencer Cox had signed a state of emergency for Cache County and also Box Elder County.
Multiple counties.
And that was in regards to the loss of crops that we had this year. So for those large orchards and producers, there is going to be help available now through that state of emergency, which is very, very great.
Did notice that in the news yesterday too.
Yeah.
But good things happening at Anderson's this weekend. So we've got lots of things on sale. Children's Market down on Center Street. Yeah. So should be a fun weekend to be out. And the sun's out, the sky's blue, but it's not like hot.
No,
it's like perfect temperatures. It's like wonderful temperatures to be outside and to get out in the garden and just enjoy spring.
Yeah, 60s and 50s for this weekend. And, we could see a little bit of snow coming in for the first of next week. The overnight temperatures, though, that's the concern. We're going to be around 34 tonight, 33 on Sunday night, 32 on Monday night. So that 32 is kind of the one concern that we have.
Yeah.
So if you are going to be planting anything this weekend, Mark, okay, walls of water and frost cloths would definitely be used.
Aquadomes, if you've got them, walls of water for sure. We've got more walls of water, and then any of the Grow It Now, the hard plastic protectors, they give you an extra 4 to 5 degrees. And I know we are really, really low. We had another shipment coming in. I'm not sure if they made it for this weekend or not, but we'll have more of the plant protectors in early next week. But we do have hot caps as well too. And the hot caps will give you 2 or 3 degrees of added protection. We do have frost cloth of various thickness, and we've got them pre-cut in 12 by 12 pieces, and then we also have it in bulk rolls where you can just cut off what you need. Okay. Yeah. The key with the frost cloth is to make sure and get it propped up over the top of the plants so the plants aren't touching the frost cloth, and then it will give them more protection. And so if they're laying right on the plant, sometimes the frost will settle on the fabric and it will penetrate through and damage the plants that are touching it. But if you have it propped up above the plants, so there's a little bit of an air pocket between, then that gives you even more added protection.
Okay.
Yeah. So better to do that. The walls of water will give you about 10 to 12 degrees of added protection, and it does not even look we're going to get close to like
in the 20s,
even mid 20s. Yeah, it's like this is going to be a really low 30s potentially, and so hot caps and frost cloth, those will do a very, very adequate job for this. If we were getting into the mid 20s, then you definitely want to use the wall of water or the aquadomes to protect those. And then, like I said, a little bit of heat lamp would never hurt.
Yeah.
Had somebody they'd used their chicken heat lamps, and it worked great for their plants. So there's multiple options out there. And it's usually not all night that it needs to go, but if you're doing a cover and you just put an incandescent light bulb in there, it'll generate enough heat that it will be much, much warmer underneath the cloth than it would be otherwise. Yeah, okay. Much warmer because it'll trap all that heat that's coming off the light bulb.
Okay.
Yeah, LED lights do not work.
No.
Because they don't produce enough heat.
No.
So we got to do a good old-fashioned incandescent light bulb.
You need the good old stuff.
Yeah, because they do generate quite a bit of heat. You don't want to touch the light bulb after it's been running for 5 minutes because it'll burn you.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's really hot, but it'll give off enough heat that's trapped underneath your frost blanket or your frost cloth that it will really help with freezing weather conditions. Yeah.
Or you can be like some of the rest of us who I normally do not plant until right around Memorial Day. And so
I hate to say it, but I told you so.
Yeah.
It's like here's the frost that I've been predicting for the last 3 months because everybody got excited the first part of March and wanted to plant everything. It's like, look, we're still going to have frost in May. It's probably going to be about the 20th, and here we go.
Yeah. Now, if you have not planted anything yet, what are the best tips for preparing your garden soil? What can you do? If, I know for ours, we've got a lot of lawn trimmings out there. We've got leaves that are still collected. What's the best treatment to be able to, till that garden together and get it ready for planting in the next couple of weeks?
In the fall is the best time to add a lot of organic matter, but in the spring we can still add a little bit. So in the fall we'll recommend 2 to 4 inches of organic matter, compost, leaves, all kinds of different things to work into the soil. But you can't do 4 inches in the springtime because it takes all summer for it to decompose.
Right.
And so we're going to cut that back to about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of a nice, well-composted product. And so we highly recommend our soil building conditioner that we carry that's finely ground redwood. It's been composted with poultry manure and bat guano and worm castings and kelp meal. And you could put a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of that out, spread it over your entire garden, and then work that into the soil. And that's going to really build and loosen your soil up and put some nutrient back in there. So the soil building conditioner is great. Our Garden Max is amazing. That's like the soil building conditioner, but it's even more composted. So we call it ultra composted. And so you don't have to use as much. You only use a half inch of that and spread it over the surface, and you don't even have to incorporate it into the soil. You just rake it in to the soil, and it actually conditions your soil and puts all this nutrient value back in. So the Garden Max, if you've got raised beds, this stuff is absolutely amazing. Yeah, it's like outstanding. Okay. So really, really good stuff. And then our new planting mix that we brought in from Royal Gold, and we had our guest on a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about the Royal Gold. That planting mix is just it's unbelievable how good it is. We used it in the planters on Center Street with the pansies, and we just used that to kind of just freshen up the soil that's out there. And as you can see, the pansies are going berserk. Yeah, they're going crazy. So they're almost like touching each other, and they're so big. They've just really taken off, and they've bloomed like all spring. They're just continuing to bloom. So that planting mix has coconut coir in there. It has, they call it Cal Peat, and it's a composted forest product.
Okay.
And then it's got some natural nutrient in there as well, too. And our plants are really, really responding to the planting mix. Like, I've never seen our plants put out so many roots in such a short amount of time as they have this year with that planting mix. Like, it's been absolutely outstanding. So great for working into raised beds, great for working into your garden, great for treating individual plants. That would be amazing.
Okay.
Amazing product as well, too.
All right. Well, phone lines are open. We can take your calls, your questions, your comments for Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. We can talk more gardening. Also, we want to get into some of those tricks for planting into your garden. And we can also talk fruit trees. I know we were planting our rose bush, as I was kind of teasing about last week. We bought one for my wife for Mother's Day, and Mother's Day was great, Mark. That rose bush just took off. And so we can talk about that, but phone lines are open at 753-KVNU. That's 753-5868. If you have a question or comment for Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. So let's talk about some of these tricks that you can use when planting that really can help get your plants to take off.
So I mentioned earlier with my carrots, and carrot seeds are really hard to get to germinate because they dry out so quickly. We don't want to bury them too much, and so you have to put a fine layer of soil over the top. But then you get a couple warm days, and all it takes is one afternoon, and it will dry those seeds out, and then it just like takes forever for them to germinate. So a few years ago, we started using coconut coir to cover the carrots with, and so I plant a wider row. It's about, I'll rake an area 20 to 25 feet long, and I'll rake it about 8 to 10 inches wide. So I'll rake this wider row. And then what I do is I'll put like a slow release organic fertilizer in there, like the Green Grow. The Green Grow would be like perfect to work in there. So we'll apply the Green Grow, and then I'll sprinkle my seeds down the row and kind of spread them out and try and get them as thin as possible. But doesn't always work out that way. Sprinkle those carrots out, and then what we'll do is I'll rake it again very lightly. It kind of rakes the seeds just barely into the soil and also into that fertilizer. And then I put about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of coconut coir over the top of it. And then we just kind of pat it down. The coconut coir acts as like a filter, and so when I water it, and I'll water it with like a seed starter, so Bicor seed starter is amazing for that. I guess it's Monterey now, and I'll water it with that. And what the coconut coir does is it filters the water so it doesn't wash the seed away. And so the seed's really lightweight, and so if you get a lot of water on there, it will float, and then it will move. But the coconut coir acts as a filter, and it kind of breaks the water up, and it keeps the seeds in place, hydrates the coconut coir up and the soil underneath, and then that coconut coir dries out on the surface really quickly, but underneath it will retain that moisture for days. And so it keeps those carrots hydrated much, much longer. And then when you get some nice sunny, warm weather like we had the last week, then it warms the soil up really quickly, but the seeds stay moist because the coconut coir is retaining all that moisture. And my carrots are up in 11 days. And so that's like 10 days faster than average.
Than normal.
Yeah, because usually it's about 21 to 24 days for the carrots to come up, and we can get them up in half that much time. So this this year, I'm going to do something similar with my tomatoes, and so I'm going to try that planting mix because it has been so outstanding with all of our other plants. So planting tomatoes next week, if they're in 4-inch containers or gallon-sized pots or whatever, I will dig my holes 2 to 3 times the width of the pot that they're in. So if they're in just like little 4-packs or they're in jumbo packs, don't dig your hole just the size of a trowel, which is just barely bigger than the actual pack itself. Yeah, the plug itself. You want it to be 2 or 3 times the size of that. So I'll actually use a shovel and I'll dig bigger holes. And then I'll take that soil that I took out of the hole and I'll mix it 50-50 with my planting mix. And so it lightens that soil up, it loosens the soil up, and then with the coconut coir and the cow peat that's in there, it will absorb and hold moisture like way, way better than my soil would by itself. And then as I'm transplanting that plant back in, I'll backfill with that nice soil mixture, that 50-50 mix that I took out of the hole with the planting mix. And then I like to water my tomatoes and my peppers, my squashes, my melons, my cucumbers, pumpkins. I'll water them with a combination of the fungicide 5 from Fertilome because it is a great soil. It's a fungicide, but it's a biofungicide, so it's a bacteria. But it's a good bacteria instead of a bad bacteria, and it works on all kinds of soil-borne diseases. And so I'll mix that in, and then I basically use the compost tea. So I use our compost tea blend, and then I throw a little bit of Bigfoot in with it to just kind of supplement it. And then I'll water the plants with that to get them established. So between the compost tea and the Bigfoot and the disease control, it gives them all the nutrient that they need. It colonizes the root system with the mycorrhiza, puts good bacteria and organisms back into the soil, so it builds the soil back up. And those plants will just take off like crazy. If I really want to go serious and have zero transplant shock, because last year I transplanted, what was it? We decided 75 pumpkins, squashes, melons, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, 75 plants. I transplanted them. I used the green aminos from Green Grow. Remember we talked about the green aminos last year, and I had zero transplant shock, like none. 75 plants in the garden, warm days, and zero transplant shock. So it makes a huge, huge difference. So I'll mix the green aminos in with that as well too to cut down on transplant shock, and the plants will they'll just take off like crazy. Yeah, they'll take off like crazy. So that's the way to get started. And then I'll water the tomatoes, all those seedlings that I'm planting, I'll water those with that same mixture the first 3 or 4 waterings when they need it. And so probably every 3 to 4 days, I'll saturate them with that. And then I put hot caps over them. So it's not even really a hot cap. I use my Aquadomes, and I've got some of the larger Grow It Nows, and those work absolutely. They're amazing.
Which just helps keep that soil temperature warm.
It keeps them warmer. Yeah,
the first month or so.
So they're less likely to go through transplant shock. The soil warms up. You get some really fast growth, and all of a sudden they're growing out the tops of the Aquadomes, and they're just flourishing. But that combination of the fungicide 5 with the Bigfoot, with the compost tea, and the green aminos all in one, and those plants will just absolutely take off like crazy.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Take off like crazy.
Some great tips. And, you talk about the soil amendments that you can add in. You can add the compost tea, and there's the Bigfoot. And, I know sometimes for gardeners, they think, whoa, that's so much, I got a whole list of things I got to do.
Right.
But even just 1 or 2 of those things can make a big difference. I know for us last year, it was just incorporating the use of Bigfoot. Yeah. That's all we did. And with all of the tomatoes and peppers that we planted last year, we didn't lose a single plant, which had never happened for us before.
Right.
So even just using 1 or 2 of those tips whether it is the compost tea, whether it is Bigfoot or the soil amendments, can make a big
huge difference. Yeah, if I were to use just one of those things, it would be the Bigfoot, because once the Bigfoot colonizes the root system of those plants, it will fight off diseases, and it goes out and it finds water and it finds nutrient, it brings it right to its plant host and feeds it, and then the plant creates a little bit of extra sugars and gives it to the mycorrhiza, and it goes out and finds more. Yeah. And so the Bigfoot, if you can colonize those root systems of your plants with the Bigfoot when you're planting, less transplant shock, bigger plants, better production, just healthier plants all around.
And the only caution that we would have is that if you are starting to use some of these new amendments that you have not used before, be prepared for what's going to happen next, because in our case,
for production,
we had more tomatoes than peppers than we ever were able to use last year.
Yeah.
And
that's a good problem to have. It's a really good problem to have, because you can always take your excess down to the food pantry.
You can, exactly.
And that's what we end up doing is we take, sometimes we'll get 3 or 4 times what we really need, and we'll take some down to the food pantry and share it with all the neighbors.
Yeah.
And, Anderson's Food Pantry is pretty much what it is.
But, so keep that in mind. And you know what? Definitely compost tea, Bigfoot, those are some of the best things that you can put on your plants to help reduce some of that transplant shock. So we can take more of your calls. We've got our bottom of the hour news break. We'll be coming right back. Talk more about some of the specials that are going on at Anderson Seed and Garden this weekend. Looking ahead to Memorial Weekend and talking about flowers too. It's that time of the year to start sprucing up the flower garden. So phone lines open at 753-5868. That's 753-KVNU. And more of the Garden Guide coming up next here on KVNU. With your KVNU local headlines here at the bottom of the hour, I'm Will Feelright. A Cache Valley robotics company has launched the largest commercial deployment of autonomous tractors in the sugar industry. Autonomous Solutions, based in Mendon, recently partnered with U.S. Sugar to deploy a fleet of self-driving John Deere tractors across 255,000 acres of farmland in South Florida. Now, fitted with ASI's autonomous fleet management system, the heavy machinery can now operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, the advanced software allows a single operator to safely oversee multiple vehicles at once from a central command station. Now, U.S. Sugar officials say the technology will increase efficiency, maximize productivity, and also improve sustainability in land preparation. Now, the company plans to retain all its current employees by retraining traditional tractor drivers for other roles within the operation. Now, ASI, which operates a 150-acre proving ground in nearby Petersboro, originated 26 years ago from technologies developed at Utah State University. And a new children's series produced here in Utah is using puppets, music, and storytelling to help young viewers navigate complex emotions. Now, based in Provo, Lulubug's Garden targets children between the ages of 3 to 7, aiming to transform traditional screen time into interactive and emotionally healthy family conversations. Now, the show helps kids understand and manage feelings such as sadness, nervousness, and also frustration. Well, we're going to see increasing clouds through the weekend with a possibility of some rain and snow coming, as temperatures by the first of next week only going to be in the low 50s for our high. And I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU local headlines.
I'm Alex Sobario. 3 of the NBA's Final Four teams are set after Friday. The San Antonio Spurs eliminated the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals with a dominant 139-109 win, winning the series 4-2. The Spurs now in the conference finals for the first time since the 2017 season. It's the 15th conference finals appearance for the Spurs in their history. Victor Wembanyama with 19 points and 6 rebounds and 3 blocks in the win. He expressed his feelings for reaching the conference finals in his first postseason.
It's great. Shows that we already gained a little bit of experience from our short playoff time. Feel like we put ourselves in the best conditions. Simple as that.
All 5 starters for the Spurs reached double figures. Stephon Castle with a game-high 32 in the win. The Spurs will face the Thunder in Game 1 of the West Finals on Monday on ESPN Radio. We will have a Game 7 in the East semifinals, however. Pistons controlled for most of the game, and Cunningham led the way for the Pistons with a 21-point night as the Pistons hold off the Cavs to stave off elimination 115-94. They force a Game 7 coming up on Sunday. Cunningham on the Pistons sticking together in an elimination game.
Stick together. We stay in the moment. We don't get ahead of ourselves, but most importantly, we stick together. And, when things get ugly or whatever, we come together, we talk. We get back in the moment, and then we move forward from there.
Donovan Mitchell struggled in Game 6 with 19 points on just 6 of 20 shooting from the field. It was the Cavs' first home loss of the playoffs. We have a tie atop the leaderboard in the PGA Championship. Alex Smalley, Maverick McNeely going to the final 36 at 4 under after 36 holes in the PGA Championship. McNeely 3 under on Friday. Smalley 1 under 69. Chris Gotterup, Hideki Matsuyama, and Stefan Jaeger among those tied at 1 stroke back. Still anyone's tournament. And on the diamond, Juan Soto hit his 250th career home run, but the Mets fell to the Yankees 5-2. Clay Holmes suffered a broken fibula in the game after being hit by a line drive from Spencer Jones.
Constantly sneezing, having itchy eyes, or runny nose? It's allergy season. This is Dr. Tyson Brown with Budge Clinic's Allergy and Immunology team. We can help you get the relief you need. Having the only board-certified allergist in the Valley, Budge Allergy Clinic offers allergy testing, allergy shots, and treatment, and much more. Call the clinic and book your appointment today, 435-266-4735. That's 435-266-4735, or search Budge Allergy Clinic for details.
The Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM at 102.1 FM.
And welcome back to the show, 8:35 now on this Saturday morning. We'll feel right along with Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden, talking all things lawn and garden here on this beautiful Saturday morning. And, you and I were mentioning just while we were off the air for a moment that a lot of us getting garden fever.
Yes.
With the sunshine and the beautiful weather that we're having, a lot of us wanting to get out, but we are still in the middle of May, though, Mark.
Still middle of May, and it's hard to believe that next week is like Memorial Day weekend because it's really, really early this year, so super early. So it gives us a false sense of security when it comes to up and down weather, which is very likely here in Cache Valley this time of year. So, but we were talking at the top of the show about all the specials going on at Anderson Seed and Garden. So today only, we've got some today specials. You'll have to mention it when you check out at the register at Anderson's. But our wave petunias are on sale. They're regularly $5. They're on sale for $2. So a great deal on 4-inch wave petunias. We've got 6-pack jumbo strawberries, regularly $10 for those jumbo 6-packs, and they're half price, so they're $4.50. And our 3 to 4-inch size geraniums, they're regularly $5, and we're selling those for $2.25. So some really good deals on geraniums, on jumbo strawberry plants. Got a lot of varieties to choose from too, and on 4-inch wave petunias. So some Saturday specials at Anderson Seed and Garden. And this weekend, the Children's Market is on Center Street. So good time to come down, check out the greenhouses, check out the nursery, see what's happening at Anderson's, and hang out at the kids' market for a while.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk more about that coming up in just a minute, but let's go out to the phone lines as we have Joan joining us on the line from Millville. Joan, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. We have all these little tiny white flies in our yard.
Yeah.
They're in groups, and then especially on our rose bush. Just you get near it and they just swarm.
I've heard that from a lot of people, and a lot of insects are popping up, but we're seeing a lot of white flies. And white flies, there's a bunch of different plants that they like, but they do love the roses for sure. And they'll make little speckles on the leaves as they kind of suck the chlorophyll and the sap out of the leaves. They'll make them go speckly. So on the roses, you could use there's a number of products that you could use that would be safe for the roses. If you want to go with a natural control, you could use Triple Action from Fertilome. That would work great. If you want to use a systemic that works from the inside out, there's some excellent spray-on systemics that you could use, as well as some granulated ones that you put into the soil that they'll pick up through the root system. So the insecticide stays inside the plant. So if any insects come and nibble on the plant or suck sap out of it, it will control them as they consume the plant. And so that's a good way too. And then 7 for a contact spray, or the new Bug Blaster Lambda would be great. There's some really good options for getting these under control that are safe for you, but also very effective on a lot of the insects that are doing a lot of damage.
Okay, that sounds great.
Right.
Thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for calling this morning, and I've got lots of good options for you to choose from. So,
great. Thank you.
Super. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
That opens up a phone line at 753-5868 or 435-753-KVNU. And Mark, insects definitely going to become an issue. We were thinking that mosquitoes would have been a problem, but that's the one benefit of all the freezing temperatures that we had.
It killed some of these off.
Wiped out all of our crops. Is it did take out the mosquito population.
I think a lot of grasshoppers had started to hatch as well too, and then that cold weather kind of knocked those back.
Zapped them out.
But I had somebody in the other day. They're like, I got tons of little baby grasshoppers popping up already. So we could have a fairly aggressive insect season since we had a mild winter.
Yeah,
very, very mild winter.
All right, so definitely something you got to watch out for.
Yeah, and try and prevent. We're seeing aphids like crazy right now. So aphids are all over trees and shrubs and flowers, and so the aphids are a little bit out of control. We sold our last ladybug container yesterday, but I've got some more that should show up on Tuesday or Wednesday when the weather finally starts looking a little bit better again. And so we'll have ladybugs and lacewings back in stock. I do have praying mantids in stock as well too, and then like I said, there's a lot of great contact insecticides that you can use. We had some pepper plants come in, and they had aphids on them right from the grower. The aphids love the pepper plants; they just absolutely love them. So we quarantined them in our warehouse, and we sprayed those, and within 24 hours, and we just used spinosad soap. And the spinosad soap is an all-natural bacteria in a soap form, and it's great for aphids. It's really good for thrips. It's great for spider mites. And so we sprayed that, and within 24 hours, it had killed like 95% of the aphids.
Amazing.
Yeah, so did a really, really great job. And so aphids are very problematic right now. We're seeing tons and tons of them. So there are options like systemic insecticides. You've got ladybugs that do a great job, and lacewings. And then in between that, we've got spinosad soap, and we've got Triple Action. Those are great organic options that are very safe, but also super effective for people. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take another call. We have Mike joining us on the line from Logan. Mike, go ahead. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hey, Mark. How's it going?
Going great. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for all you do. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. My pleasure.
Hey, I have these rings in my yard. I'm pretty sure it's a necrotic ring in my lawn.
Okay.
There are these dead spots that probably about a foot in diameter, and nothing will grow in them.
Right, and relatively circular. They can be kind of irregular shaped, and sometimes they'll cross over, so you get kind of like the Olympic rings look in various locations. Yeah. And nothing really helps. There is a fungicide that came out just a couple years ago that's made by Scott's, and it's called Disease X, and it actually has some pretty good efficacy against necrotic ring spot, but it doesn't completely get rid of it. It just kind of seems to come back, but it does help it from spreading, and it does kind of keep it under control. And what we found is that if you do a combination of the Disease X from Scott's and then overseed with some resistant grass, like our Mark's Mix and our turf type perennial ryegrass that we've got, which is a blend of like 3 different ryegrasses. They are very, very resistant to the necrotic ring spot. And so they will incorporate very nicely into your existing grass, and you will see a darker, consistent color. And as that grass comes up, it won't be affected by the necrotic ring spot, and it will take over those spots where you just can't get anything to grow because the bluegrass just won't come back in there. So those are the best ways to go. The Disease X works best if the grass is a little bit damp. So just turn your sprinklers on for just a few minutes just to get some moisture out there. Apply the Disease X, leave it on for 24 hours, and then water it after that, and it will start to control the disease so it doesn't continue to spread. And then overseed with one of those grass mixes, and it will eventually get rid of your necrotic ring spot.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, have a great weekend, Mike. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, you as well. Thank you.
Yep, we'll see you.
435-753-5868 is the phone number. That's 753-KVNU. I think one of the questions, though, that maybe some people are asking is there something you can do to be able to avoid necrotic ring spot? What brings it on? What causes it to occur?
That's a great question, and I think it spreads multiple ways. I think it'll spread airborne, and it gets into your yard. Sometimes you'll pick it up on your lawnmower, spread it from one spot in your yard to another. As the wheels of the lawnmower go through it, they'll pick it up. And I think occasionally just your commercial lawnmowers will pick it up from one place and move it to the next because they don't like sterilize their lawnmower every time they stop at one house and go to the next, and it's not really their fault. It's just those lawnmowers pick up a lot of debris, and then it's stuck on the
and then share it with everybody else.
Share it around, and then share it around. So that is a distinct possibility as well too. But that Disease X does a really great job on a lot of different diseases. It's probably one of the most least expensive products that's out there. So it's a good value, great coverage. And it's very, very effective on a lot of these diseases. But the best way to get rid of necrotic ring spot is to get rid of your bluegrass and put turf-type rye or turf-type fescues in there, and they are completely resistant to the necrotic ring spot.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's really the only way to do it is to just get that turf-type perennial ryegrass in there, which looks very much like a Kentucky bluegrass. Yeah, it really looks just like a bluegrass. The newer strains are really, really nice, and it will go away.
Okay.
Yeah, because it just doesn't work on the blue. It works. It destroys the bluegrass. Does not affect the perennial ryegrass.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go.
All right. Well, let's continue talking a little bit about lawns, because earlier on we were mentioning a lot of people fighting with dandelions right now in their lawns.
Right.
I know we had a lot of clover that came in this year.
Yeah.
And started fighting the clover. You've got morning glory. And one of the things that we did is that we treated last Saturday, went out, sprayed all of that clover. Today now we've got little brown spots,
little dead spots.
But here's the thing I wanted to know is that should we spray again? Because one of the things we found is that I'll kill it off, but it'll just come back.
Yeah.
And so if I really want to decimate it, is it too early to spray? A week after, or should I wait? Let it.
A week to 10 days after the first application is when it's like most vulnerable to try and go back and hit it again.
Okay.
And so what we found with some of these hard to kill weeds like clover is difficult. Morning glory is really difficult. Make sure you use a surfactant like the spreader sticker or the herbicide enhancer from High Yield. Those are amazing products to supplement your weed killers. So it makes herbicides that much more effective. Yeah, it makes it much more effective. Or Nano Boost, which unfortunately I'm out of my Nano Boost at the moment, but that's my favorite surfactant, and it really, really makes your sprays super effective. But going back with a second application a week or 10 days after the first will help knock out some of those really resistant, resilient weeds that are just difficult to kill.
Okay.
So that would not hurt. So we've seen like Japanese clover, which kind of looks like regular clover, but it's got little yellow flowers on it instead. It makes your herbicide much more effective. And you could do Weed Free Zone. Weed Free Zone would be awesome for all those hard to kill weeds. The clover, I've found the Weed Free Zone takes 2 applications. Okay. So if you used Weed Free Zone, sometimes it'll take 2 to really knock it out.
Down.
Yeah. The Spurge Power from Monterey is really effective also. It's a little bit more potent. Takes longer. It doesn't work as quickly as the Weed Free Zone, but it will get some of those hard to kill weeds like wild violets that sometimes even the Weed Free Zone won't get.
Just won't knock
down.
Yeah. Okay.
Like wild violets are just one of the hardest, most resilient weeds to try and control. And the Weed Free Zone does a pretty good job on it, but the Spurge Power is kind of like my go-to for some of those impossible to kill plants.
Now, how does Weed Free Zone compare with like just your typical like 2,4-D?
Yeah, so Weed Free Zone has 2,4-D in it.
Oh, okay.
But then it also has 3 other ingredients. So Weed Free Zone is 2,4-D, dicamba, MCPP, and carfentrazone. And that combination of those 4 different herbicides, they're mixed together at lower ratios. And so you end up using less product, but there's a combination of 4 different ones in there. And the synergy between those 4 products really is super effective at controlling some of these weeds because they all have different modes of action and work on different parts of the plant. And so the combination of the 4 makes it really effective on some of these hard to kill weeds that just say the 2,4-D by itself would not take care of. But then you add these other components in there and they're all working on different systems inside the plant. All of a sudden the whole system collapses because this one's weakened and this one's weakened and this one's weakened, and then that last one just like kind of finishes it all off. Yeah. And so very, very effective that way. And the Spurge Power is the same way. It's a combination of 3 very different herbicides that synergizes when you put them together, and they're like super, super effective. But instead of using them all at full strength, you can use them at like quarter strength or even less and get more effective, control of the weeds with less product. Okay. And so that's the key is like we don't need to necessarily go stronger. We just get the right combination, and you can use less product to do more than you would otherwise.
And a spreader sticker really
and enhances that, because your spreader sticker or your herbicide enhancer has a non-ionic surfactant in there. What it does really is it makes it adhere to the plant, so it makes it stick to the weeds. It makes it it helps with absorption, so it helps it penetrate into the plant faster. And then it helps with translocation, which means it spreads it through the plant faster. So it helps that product move through the plant quicker, and so it will be much more effective because of those 3 different modes of action. And it'll make your weed spray rain fast in like an hour.
Oh, wow.
And so if you spray, excuse me, and a little black thundercloud pops up over the Wellsvilles and comes across the valley and just dumps rain like crazy, all it takes is an hour for that to be rain fast and already working inside the plant. And so then if it rains an hour after you've sprayed, it's already inside the plant doing its job. And if it gets washed off, it's just not a problem. So that's how a spray aid, like a surfactant, like a spreader sticker, or the herbicide enhancer, that's how it makes your spray much more effective. And in most cases, you can even go less product. So if you're using, say, just plain old 2,4-D, it gives you a range of how much to use.
Right.
It'll say use 2 to 4 tablespoons. So it gives you this broad range to use. You can use the lowest range. Like if it says 2 to 4 tablespoons, do the 2 instead of the 4. And if you use a surfactant with it, like the spreader sticker or the herbicide enhancer, it will work better than if you use the 4 by itself.
Okay.
All right. So you can use even less product than what is recommended. Well, it's like the lowest range of what's recommended instead of the highest range, but still get the same results as if you used more.
Okay.
So it makes your weed killers go farther, saves you money. You're putting less chemicals and pesticides into your environment as well too, and still getting the results that you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's really helpful that way.
Well, we've got about 8 minutes left on the show, and still time we could take a call or two. 753-KVNU, that's 753-5868 if you have a question or comment for Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. Now, as we were mentioning earlier, a lot of people seeing the weather forecast for today, and they're thinking, great time to get out, plant, even though it is still the middle of May. So if you are going to be planting, and we, of course, encourage it, it's a great time to plant. You just need to probably take a couple precautions, Mark.
Yep.
And what would those be primarily?
So right now we're seeing probably close to 70 today. That's going to be like amazing day to be outside. But then the next couple of days, we're down into the low 50s, and we could potentially have frost on Monday or Tuesday. And so like this weekend, if I've got time when I get home from work tonight, I'm going to try and get my corn and my beans planted because they'll love the cool, wet weather. And they'll germinate and get going, but they won't emerge from the ground for like a week. So it'll be like Memorial Day. So it'll be perfect time for those guys to come up. But I'm not planting my tomatoes or peppers or squashes or melons or cucumbers because they're highly susceptible to frost unless you're going to put walls of water, aquadomes, hot caps, the heavier plastic grow it nows. You're going to have to protect those plants because if we get down into the low 30s, we could see some frost damage. We could see some plants really struggling. So make sure you protect your plants. And we've got all those products at Anderson's, and we've got frost cloth as well too. So basically hot caps and frost cloth will give you 2 degrees, maybe 3 degrees of added protection. So instead of freezing at 32, you're into the really high 20s to see any damage. And we're not seeing any forecasts that say high 20s.
Okay.
We're like low 30s right now. And if you use, like, say, a Grow It Now plant protector, they'll give you 5 degrees of added protection, but also some extra growth enhancement on your plant. So they're really good to enhance the growth because they generate so much extra heat for the plants. So those would be really good. And then if you do aquadomes or walls of water, those will give you 12 degrees of added protection. So down to basically 20 degrees, they'll protect the plants. And we've seen the walls of water freeze solid and still have a plant that was safe on the inside. On the inside of the walls of water. So they do a great job, and they really enhance the growth of the plants early. So that extra water generates a lot of heat, maintains that heat through the night, and the plants continue to grow at night, even though it starts to cool down.
Okay.
So it really does make a difference. And if you are really concerned, you can always throw a light bulb out there underneath your frost cloth to generate a little bit of heat. And like we mentioned earlier in the show, LED lights don't work that way. Yeah. They don't generate enough heat. We would need some incandescent lights. So we actually saw a lot of Christmas lights for the last frost. We had people come in as like, what can I do? It's like C9 incandescent Christmas lights. They're like, really? It's like, yeah. Here's a set of 20. Plug those suckers in and hold them together, and they get really hot. They generate a lot of heat, and so run those down a row of corn or beans that are really sensitive and put a little frost cloth over it. And I'll bet it'll stay 40 degrees in there. And while it's like 30 degrees outside, it'll increase your ambient temperature by 10 to 15 degrees.
And it would make your garden just look so festive.
Oh, I know. My neighbor down the street has got Christmas lights in his fruit trees still. And I think they've protected their trees like through all this cold. Yeah.
Hey, it works.
And I drive down the street in the morning when it's dark outside, and it's very festive. Yeah, looks like the holidays.
Sing jingle bells. Well, and you mentioned beans and corn can go in right now. What about squashes? Be okay with squashes? Because you're looking at least another week or so before those would start to come up.
If you planted seed, I think you would be just fine.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take a few days for them to come up, and we should be past frost at that point. So you could plant seed of all your squashes, melons, cucumbers, pumpkins, no problem.
Yeah.
But if you're doing plants, they're going to be very tender, and they're going to be very susceptible to the cold weather and the frost. I've got my giant pumpkins planted out in the garden, and I've got little cold frames set up around
all
them.
Built up around them.
Except for that wind this week. Absolutely destroyed my cold frames because I had rocks on them, like big rocks to kind of hold them down. And I had vented them a little bit during the day. And so there was an opening so that the heat could come out because it was a warm day, and the wind caught inside there, and it just threw the rocks off, and then they just like ended up in the fence line. And I have had to reassemble them, and they are
kind of bent.
Not in a pristine condition anymore. We'll put it that way. But they still work, so it's like, we'll use them, but they're pretty trashed. All the aluminum and the corrugated plastic all kind of got hammered.
Got beat up pretty
good. I've had a rough go this year between the tiller getting broken, which is now fixed, and I've got working again, and the wind destroying my cold frames. My poor giant pumpkins are not looking great. We'll just put it that way.
All right. Well, we all have those stories to tell. That's for sure. Well, that's going to wrap things up. But before we go, you mentioned that this weekend, some special sales this weekend only. Yes. Anderson Seed and Garden.
For Saturday specials, we've got wave petunias in 4-inch pots, and they're all in full bloom, and they're regularly $5. We've got them on sale for $2. We've got our jumbo 6-pack strawberries, lots of different varieties to choose from, everbearing and June-bearing. They're regularly $10. They'll be on sale for $4.50. And our 3 to 4-inch geraniums, also in bloom, look amazing. They are regularly $5. They'll be on sale for $2.25. So some really good deals on flowers and strawberries that you can get out in your garden. And those petunias and geraniums, they'll handle the cold. No problem. They're marigolds.
Easily.
They'll turn black, but the petunias and the geraniums, they'll give you a few degrees of protection, even if you get a little bit of frost. And so those will be fine. Children's market going on today on Center Street. So come down. A lot of fun things happening at Anderson's. And then the Cache Valley Children's Market is going on right there on Center Street as well, too.
Lining the sidewalks. A lot of those kids, it seems like they are better cooks than we are.
Yeah, it's really fun to see
Cookies, brownies,
what they bring and what they sell. And these are all children entrepreneurs. They're running their own businesses. Yeah. They're learning about, supply chain and budgeting and all that
pricing,
fun stuff.
That.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, if you missed any part of the show, you can always go back and listen to prior episodes by going to kvnutalk.com and join us again next week on The Garden Guide here on KVNU.
Covering all the news. Stay with 610 AM and 102.1 FM. Breaking news